I'm trying to buy this boom lift. I really need it for my house, but it doesn't start right now. So before I buy it, I need to be able to transport it home, and without starting it, I really can't do that. I got to be able to put it on the low boy, and I don't have a winch on there or anything. So I need to try to get this started. So there's no battery at all right now. Let me see if I can get anything going on here. Just using the jump pack. So I just went down the road and bought a brand new battery. I don't know if that's the right battery, but that's what was in it. This one looks pretty much brand new actually, but it doesn't have any charge. So I'm an hour away from home. I can't be messing around. I just got another one. I'm sure this one's fine, but it has no charge at all. Okay, so just having these terminals on here for a couple seconds and hitting the starter switch, these are really hot. Both the positive and the negative. And this was like smoking. That's sizzling hot right now. This wire. The good news is I can easily change this starter out right here. This is like a 10-minute job. I just need to locate one. I'm just going to try one more thing before I go and try to find the starter. Alright, so that braided wire right there is supposed to be connected to this ground lug right here, and it was totally disconnected. So I got them kind of connected now. Let's see if that'll make any difference at all. Okay. Okay. So maybe we don't need a starter after all. Let me try to start this from the controls here. Okay. Just make sure nothing's smoking. One of the biggest problems is when things get smoking, then they're too hot to take off the cable, and you don't want that. You want to be able to disconnect the battery if you need to. Still definitely turning over hard. I don't know, let's just keep trying it though. Seems like when I press the start button, it kind of sticks and holds the starter on. I'm just going to try hooking up this jumper pack right to the starter. This thing is like 2,500 amps. That should tell me if it's something before this system. No. Something definitely wrong with that starter. Okay, this is starting on its own here. know it's probably something stupid, but being so far away from home, it's not exactly easy. I brought some tools with me, but it's also New Year's Eve and it's getting dark. I think my best bet is to just order one of these starters, try to get it in as soon as possible. They need this lift out of here because it's like right in the middle of the street and the permit expired, so the plow trucks are trying to plow the street and stuff, and I just need to get it out of here. Alright, so here I am a few weeks later. I got the starter, so we'll put that in and see if this fires up. It's real easy to get to. It's right here at the front. It should only take a few minutes to change this out.
Put the auto exposure on, so it's good.
It's pretty solid. Yeah, this thing was disconnected before, so I had to like see how that's the ground that right there.
Huh.
So this is supposed to be connected to here. As soon as I connected it, it actually turned over. But it turns over so slow that you can't start it. Ooh, I don't like that.
It's a little smaller than 11/16. It's got to be metric.
Right out.
That's good. So it's so tight against here that you can't even get anything in there.
Yeah.
You can't even get a socket. Oh, there's one way in the back there. You can see that.
Like it's doing something.
Trying to steal my lift.
Looks about right.
Oh yeah, there you go.
There we go. That turns over a lot faster. That's good.
Nice.
Cool.
Try the key now. No?
Well, we'll just try a little juice in there.
Well, that's some good news.
loose belt. Super loose. Yeah. It is. Yeah. I think it actually runs really good. Starter butt was out. Oh wait, no, it should be out, I think.
Let me hook this wire back up and see if you can start it from there.
All right, we can try that. Just touch it. That's all.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if the key's on though.
It is clicking when you do that. It was. Where the hell is that clicking coming from?
I'm not sure.
Damn.
Oh, I guess that does show up.
Got as far in as she goes, huh? I wonder if there's like a... Huh?
There's a gear that turns this thing, and it's broken, so it's just sitting there spinning.
Oh. Oh, I see. Yeah.
Probably an easy fix, but I don't even know where it gets it. All right, so we got it running. It runs pretty good, but I can't get it to move. It doesn't have enough power, so I don't know what's going on with it. But I'm gonna ask the guy that I'm buying it from to try to see if he can move it. It seems like it just doesn't have any power to the drive at all, and the boom doesn't go up. So I need both of those functions to work to put it on the low boy. probably good right there. Hold on a second. Let me just put a board underneath that.
Am I gonna make the video?
Yeah, sure.
I think that's good. Now if you want to just lay it down right on there.
Done?
Yep. So this is the only video I got of trying to fix this problem. There was a solenoid inside of the hydraulic compartment there, and there was a loose wire on it, and I started fiddling around with all the different wires, and finally I hit that one wire and it instantly started working. That's why you see me jump back. And just to confirm that that was what happened, I unplugged the wire and I had Pat raise the boom and nothing happened. And then I put the wire back on and it worked again. So we tried that a few times just to confirm that that was actually the problem. That solenoid apparently controlled the drive forward and reverse, as well as the boom up and down. Without that working, I was still able to steer, and I was still able to retract and extend the boom, as well as tilt the basket. But I wasn't able to drive or boom up, and I was sort of able to boom down. So there's another problem checked off the list, and it was totally free to fix it. I was literally 1 second away from stepping away from that compartment because I didn't think the problem was in there. Alright, so a brief introduction to this machine. I think it's about a 92. It's a 60-foot boom. It's a JLG 60H. It's got a Ford gas engine in it. It's an LSG 4231. It's a 4-cylinder liquid-cooled gas engine. It also runs on propane if you need to. I don't know if it works or not. The biggest thing about this machine for me is the fact that it's 4-wheel drive. And it's a little bit bigger than the other one that I have. This is 60 foot, the other one is 46 foot. There's also a few other things that it has, like a rotating basket, which right now is actually broken, but it does rotate if you have it hooked up properly. It's also got a bigger basket. This is 8 foot. The other one is like 5 foot. It's a little bit heavier. This one's about 25,000 pounds. My other one's 18,000 pounds. So you could put it on a deck over trailer, but the ramps are a lot steeper. So if you have a chance to use a lowboy, which I do usually, then it's a lot easier. I bought this for $6,000, which right now is not too bad for this machine. There's a few things that it definitely needs right off the bat. Number one, tires. You don't want to be up in the basket and have one of those tires pop out because they're too dry rotted and there's no tube in it, so it's going flat real quick. Some of these dry rot spots are pretty deep. You can't even see it from this far away. It looks like good tires, but they definitely are not. So I got all 4 new tires for this. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to put those tires on myself. I'm going to give it a try, but the few other things that it needs, the start button doesn't really work. It doesn't work from the platform as well as the ground controls. Once in a while it works from the ground controls, but usually I have to take this wire and put it on the starter and kind of jump it. The other thing I need to fix is this basket. It's not hooked up so that when that worm gear spins, it doesn't do anything. It's, I don't know, maybe there's like a shear pin in there or something. I don't really know. This is not super important though, so if we don't have a lot of time, I may not get to this right now. One thing that I just discovered with this machine is that it is leaking something right here. When I picked up this machine, it had been sitting there for a long time and I didn't see any fluids on the ground. I checked for it too, so this is probably something that only happens when it's running, but nevertheless it needs to be fixed. The other thing I need to do is fix the governor or adjust it, because when it's trying to rev up, it bounces off the red line or it surges, one or the other. I'm not really sure. So I need to fix that. The hour meter only says 236 hours. I have no idea if that's right. It is working. Maybe it was changed, I don't know. This machine I think is a 92, so I very highly doubt that that's the hours on it. Probably rolled over or something. But I guess that would mean it would have 10,000 hours. So the first thing I want to do is address this leak. I don't want it leaking here. Something up here in this mechanism is definitely leaking. Let me get this cleaned off. Right now the boom is 180 degrees from where it should be at a normal position. So I think what happens is when it gets to that normal position, there's a piece of steel that's underneath the boom that hits this. And it senses when the boom is in that position, and it unlocks this axle here so that the axle can go like this to give it more traction. That way when you have humps on the ground, the tire can go up a little bit and down without it being totally rigid. But when you're out of that position, then it locks the axle to give it more stability when you're in the air. So basically there's a little piece of steel that's about this long, and it's got like 2 curved ends on it so that it gradually goes into this, and as soon as it hits it, it pushes it, and look at that. It makes that fluid come out. So there's definitely a bad seal here somewhere. So I don't want to make this machine totally inoperable. I want to be able to move it so I can clean things out. Like I want to pressure wash this all out, but not here. And I want to pressure wash the engine bay out, but not here. The engine bay is filled with junk everywhere. But I don't want that anywhere near my well, so for right now, I'm going to take this whole assembly right out, cap off these lines. That way I can still move this machine, because I got a few other things I got to do while I'm waiting for parts. Because I'm sure I'm going to have to order parts for that, and I want to do other stuff while I'm waiting for those parts. So I suppose I could look this up in the parts diagram and figure out exactly how it works, but it looks pretty simple. Let's just try to take it apart and see if we can see something obvious. Alright, so that looks like a bunch of dirt in there. Doesn't look like it should be in there. This retaining pin seems like it's not really doing its job. Just clean that all up nice. The only thing I can see that seals everything up is this O-ring right here. And that O-ring looks fine. I think maybe it was just so dirty that the junk in there was making it not seal right. But there might be another seal underneath this that I can't get to, so I'm going to take this apart too. There's even some junk in the bottom of this one too. See if I can pull this out of here now. Nothing seems to be bad on this. There's only 2 O-rings. They both seem to be fine. Well, it only took a few minutes to take this apart, so it's easy enough to put it back in and just try it. Just keep it clean while I'm doing it, and I think that might be all it needed. So that would be kind of neat if that's all it took to fix this, huh? Just no parts, just clean it off and it's fixed. Somehow I have my doubts, but I don't see what else it could be. unless those O-rings have microscopic cracks that are leaking. And in that case, I don't need to take this all apart again, so that's why I'm putting it back in. I can just take this top off and replace those. Alright, let's start this and build up some pressure, see if that leaks. That when I put it on platform controls, the platform idles it down, but when you put it on the ground controls, it wants to idle up and then it's surging. So I believe there's an adjustment with the governor. One thing I'm noticing right off the bat, there's a hole right here on the top of the intake. I don't know what that's about. See if I can see something that's missing out of there. Maybe there was a hose in there that's missing? I don't know. See, there's like this governor box over here, and it controls this linkage, which throttles it up and down. I gotta find out what goes in that hole though, because I don't like that being open. That can suck in dirt and stuff. Next thing you know, you got scratched cylinders. So I'm actually leaning more towards a fuel delivery problem as far as this surging goes. I think it's just not getting enough fuel. So underneath the boom here, there's two fuel filters. There's one right there, and there's one right there. And I think that's the fuel pump right there. So let's start by replacing these fuel filters, and I'm gonna fill the gas tank up because it's pretty low. So according to the manual, if this engine is surging under load, I need to do some adjustments inside this box. This is a governor box, precision governor.
Oh, so,
So we fixed the leak up front there on the axle lock, and we fixed the high idle surge, or any surge actually. I fixed that, and obviously the starter we fixed at the beginning. The one thing that's been really annoying with this machine though is that it doesn't like to start from the push button here. So I gotta jump it every time. And this is the wire that's supposed to power a small amount of amps to the solenoid here, and then it turns on the starter. This is not getting power most of the time. Sometimes it does work, but then it'll stick on. So there's a solenoid right here. I think that's the problem. I think this solenoid is not working right. It actually looks fairly new, especially compared to that one, but something's not working on it. Electrical stuff like this is not my best skill, so some of this stuff may be obvious to you guys, but I got to go through and figure out exactly what's going on here. Sometimes I like to just throw parts at it because these are not very expensive for these solenoids. You can buy these right at the auto parts store. This one's got 4 posts on it, and this one only has 2. This one is actually for this pump over here. It's an electric over hydraulic pump, which doesn't work, but we'll get to that later. Right now, I want to be able to start this without having to jump it. So you can easily just jump it by pretty much, this has got power all the time, so you're pretty much just jumping it from that power to here, and then that will start it. But I don't want that. But that's really annoying because when you're in the basket it doesn't work. So from this control source to this main power, which is always hot, if you jump them, you can hear a clicking in there. But that should start the machine. So something's not happening right in here. So this says S here and this says I here, so I'm kind of thinking this is actually backwards, because S I believe is for signal and I is for ignition. So the I was hooked up to this wire, which goes to other things to turn them on, like the distributor and stuff. When the ignition turns on, that should be turning on. But the signal should be only when you want to start the starter. Alright, so I think I got it figured out. There was two problems actually. The one problem was that these were switched around. I'm pretty sure, I'm like 99% sure that that was one of the problems. And then on top of that, I don't think it was getting a good ground. Because this solenoid, I believe, gets its ground from right there. And so what I did was hook up a ground to a wire and hooked it up to it. And then I got that really loud clicking. And then I hooked this up, which goes to the starter. And then it started. And then I took while I had it loose here, while I had it out and it wasn't mounted, I had a wire hooked up to that piece of metal over there. And then as soon as I took that away, it wouldn't do anything. So I know that it needs a ground through there, and I don't think it was getting a good ground before. So I think our problem was this was reversed. And I see why they reversed it, because you can see on the bottom there, that's the mounting hole. So in order for that to be up here where it should be, it would be hitting this box up here. So they figured that because it wouldn't fit, that they'll just switch it around. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Well, you really only need one bolt that's mounting it. It's secured in place. It's not going anywhere. So I guess if I really wanted to, I could move this box up and then I could flip this up where it's supposed to be. But it really doesn't matter. It's fine the way it is right now. It's not going anywhere. I think they just got lazy when they replaced this solenoid, and they figured that because the holes don't work going that way, that they'll just flip it around. So it was reversed. So it works like 9 out of 10 times now when you go to start it. And it starts from the basket too. So it's weird, it doesn't start every time, but if you reset the key, it seems to start every time. So if I put it on platform, it's a little bit cold-blooded right now, but you can see it starts. And when it doesn't, you just kind of reset that, and then it'll start again. Alright, so that's really good. It would never start from the basket before. It wouldn't even click or anything. So that's a huge step in the right direction. Now I can actually kind of operate this. So I think for the sake of keeping this video at a reasonable length, the next thing I'm going to do is change these tires. And I think that's going to be it for this video. And then we'll fix the rest of it on the next video. So like I said, I'm going to attempt to change these tires. I don't know how successful I'm going to be, but remember, this machine is almost 25,000 pounds. So in theory, each tire has a little over 6,000 pounds on it. The problem with these machines is, because it's so rigid, if you go to jack up that spot right there, you're liable to jack up the whole back end. And you're liable to take some weight off of the front end too, because that's just a solid piece of steel right there. That's over 2 inches thick. I'd say that's 2.5 inches thick. Solid steel right there. So if you go to jack it up right there, you need something a lot heavier duty than just 6,000 pound rated. So I got this little 12-ton jack. In theory, it should almost be able to jack up the whole machines. And this is also the lowest jack I have too. So I got to dig a little spot underneath of it just to be able to put this underneath, because it's still, even with it being so short, it's still not low enough. So I got a 3/4 inch piece of steel underneath the jack. It looks like it's already bending. So that jack is maxed out, but tires up in the air by about 1/4 inch, but that's okay. While it would have been quicker to just use that 3/4 inch drive, I got this torque multiplier. I'm definitely not worried about it. I'll get it out. This is a 1-inch drive. This is an 1.5 inch socket, and it's so thick walled that it hits this hub here and you can't put it on there. So I gotta reduce it down to 3/4.
side one like this, yeah. Once you do that, I'm gonna try and tap it.
Yeah! That was it. That was the trick. Alright, so I'm just going to send these off and get them done. I really wanted to do it myself, but I was creating damage on these tires. That's what I did from using the pry bars. So that's when you know it's time to quit. I don't like giving up, but when you start doing damage, and the rim, there was some damage on that too. Well, it's on the other side, but I was dinging up the rim pretty good. So that's when I decided to call it quits. I don't like doing that, but I'm sure somebody else has got the proper equipment to do this. Using machines instead of bars. Alright, so I kind of learned a big lesson about these tires. I try to be as self-sufficient as possible. Try to do as many things as I can by myself. Try not to depend on anybody. That's kind of my motto. And can't isn't a word is my motto. But at the same time, sometimes you got to learn when to let things go So a big lesson I learned today when I got these tires back and I got the bill for it, it was $112 for them to mount all 4 of these tires. That's just ridiculous. I can't believe I spent a half a day between 2 of us, and then I spent another half a day by myself working on that one tire just to dismount it, and that was it. I didn't even mount the new one. And I damaged the rim and I damaged the tire. So like I said in the beginning, I didn't think these had tubes in them, but they ended up having tubes in them. And so they actually, because I kind of destroyed the sidewall of the tire, or not the sidewall, but this little flange part in here, they actually said it would be better for me to take one of the tubes out of the other tires and put it in this one. So this one has a tube in it now. And so they had to reuse the valve stem because that's part of the tube. And also the rim, we kind of destroyed that too, so it was a good thing that the tube was used in that. So now there's a much better chance of it not leaking. I guess if I absolutely hate putting tubes in myself, but since somebody else did it, I should have just had them put tubes in all 4 of them, I guess. I don't know, I'm going back and forth about that, but it's done now. It is what it is. I'm not really worried about it. This machine looks so much better with these good tires on here, because there's no dry rot now. And there's more tread on them. I don't think that those tires were ever replaced before, so that's 92, somewhere around there. That's an old tire. But for the price that I paid to get these mounted, that's just a no-brainer. I shouldn't have even spent 5 minutes on these tires. I've never had a tire before that I gave up on that I couldn't do, but these were the first ones, and they probably won't be the last ones now that I know how cheap it is to get stuff like this mounted. I didn't realize that like regular tire places could do these. I thought you had to like call a guy that comes out and does them, and they charge you a service call and everything. But even if I had to pay like $500 to get these mounted, it still would have been worth it. I think they way undercharged me, because the amount of time that I would have spent on these, I would have been money ahead to even pay $500. So I definitely learned my lesson with that. I'm not gonna mess with big tires like these anymore. I think the tires that I could easily do is semi-truck tires, like 22.5s or 24.5s. Those tires I think I could easily do by myself. And I got the special tools to do it. And I've seen guys whip those tires on and off in 5 minutes. So even if I took a half an hour piece, that still would be worth it, because I'm not gonna drive anywhere for less than that amount of time, regardless of how much money it costs. But when it comes time to real heavy-duty off-road tires like this, with really heavy-duty sidewalls, it's not worth it. These are like backhoe tires, or like giant skid steer tires, I guess. So overall, for a 60-foot boom lift that's 4-wheel drive and in the 90s, I'd say this is a pretty good deal. It's not like a crazy good deal, but it's not a bad deal. So the money that I got into it so far, those tires I paid $1,300 for. They were used, but they were barely used. A guy bought them for his loader, and they didn't have aggressive enough tread for him. But for a boom lift, this is fine. But he put them on a loader, and he put like 10 hours on them, and he took them off. So there's still an inch of tread on here. They look brand new, so I can't complain. Those are pretty expensive tires too. So I got a starter, that was like $200. I put a new battery in it, that was like $150. The rest of the stuff I did to it was pretty much free, just some labor. So I'm about halfway done with the things that I need to do, so there'll be a second video on this. And in the second video, I'm gonna do things like fix that so it rotates and doesn't rotate freely. And I'm gonna probably do some stuff to this basket. I don't really like the shape that it's in. It's got some parts in the floor that are missing some steel. You could step through that pretty easy. And then the other few things I need to do, the valve cover is leaking. That definitely needs to be addressed. You can see all the oil there. It's getting oil all over. And this right here is probably going to be quite the project. I can assume that I'm going to need a bunch of parts, and I'm going to have to dismantle all kinds of things on here. So that'll be a lot of time taken up doing that. And we'll see if I have time to paint this, because I'd really like to. I think if all goes smoothly with this joint up here, then I will paint it in the next video. And it'll look a lot nicer once I paint it. Another thing I need to do is give this a nice grease job. There's a lot of joints on these boom lifts that need to be greased up. So we'll go through meticulously, one by one area at a time, and just grease everything on it. Because I'm sure not everything has been greased regularly. So just to let you guys know, I don't plan on doing anything commercially with this. Because if you were on a commercial job site with this, it would need to be inspected. And for this to be inspected, it's kind of a big process, especially for an older one like this. And every so often, you're supposed to do it like a full inspection, where they take the boom all the way out and inspect everything in there. And it's a huge process to do that. If you check out Farmcraft 101, John knows all about that. He just went through that with his 80H, I think it is, JLG 80H. And that was a huge process for him. And I'm hoping that I never have to do that. So shout out to him for going through all that. Because if I do have to go through all that, I could check out his channel. But for me, I only do residential work. So this will never see its way on a commercial site. So I don't see a reason to really do anything serious like that. Get into that kind of inspection. Plus the telescoping cylinder isn't leaking either. But anyway, that's it for this video. So I will catch you guys on the next one.